My name is Aaron Ladd, host of the Chief Squad Show here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Kansas City was in control this Thanksgiving, up 4 and driving until they abandoned the run. It cost them the game, but will it cost them the season? We discuss coming up in this episode.
I'm Darren Smith, and when Patrick Mahomes starts Patrick Mahomes, well, we saw how that turned out tonight.
And I'm J.C. Pearson in California, traveling right now, but we talked about the burden was going to be on the corners. They weren't able to hold up today.
And I'm Chris Clark from Locked On Chiefs. When the Chiefs can't get any pass rush, it is going to put it all on the secondary, and it did not work out for them today.
Chiefs Kingdom, stand up. It's the Chiefs Squad. Everything Kansas City Chiefs every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from Arrowhead Stadium, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Squad up. The Chiefs Squad Show starts now.
All right, appreciate you joining us on a Thanksgiving edition of the Chief Squad Show here in the Locked On Podcast Network. Aaron Ladd, Darren Smith, and J.C. Pearson, as well as Chris Clark, breaking down this 31-28 loss for Kansas City in Arlington, Texas. This episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Kansas City goes 2 quarters without into the end zone. We recap what went wrong there, as well as some of the injuries along the offensive line, which sputtered the offense. Third down was an issue on both sides of the ball. We will break that down, as well as some of the penalty problems that continue to rear their head for Kansas City. They fall to 6-6, but we appreciate you for taking part of your Thanksgiving and being with us here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Whether you're an everydayer, a first-time listener, remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the hype button, do whatever you have to do to get our section and our channel here more love. We appreciate y'all and hope your stomachs are tight this Thanksgiving. 31-28 the final. That mid-game scoring drought was absolutely nasty. I heard y'all talking about it on the Daily Show. Chris Clark, what do you take from Kansas City's kind of offensive ineptitude in this one?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and it was just and we're going to talk about penalties later, but that was really the big storyline. The first couple of drives where they went, they had 4 drives in a row where they punted the ball, all on the Dallas side of the field. But one of them's a 4th and 15, another one a 4th and 16. You can't really go for it in those situations. A little bit later, you have 4th and 5 and 4th and 4, still on the Dallas side, or at least close to the Dallas side of the field. Probably need to be a little bit more aggressive. But when you get in a situation where you have penalties, it just kills you, puts you behind the sticks. And granted, some of those penalties, I don't know that I would agree with, but you got to find a way to overcome them. And Kansas City wasn't able to do that, and it just stalled out those drives.
Darren, you go, then we'll get to the traveling man.
I mean, I don't even know where to start, man. I mean, there was so much that went wrong. You know, as I said, when Patrick Mahomes starts Patrick Mahomes, we start seeing, what happens. And I said it to say that, early on, he ran when he felt like he should have ran, but then, seeing that his tackles, were hurt or switched out, because I know Josh Simmons went out with the fractured wrist later on in the game. Patrick just started. He wasn't trusting his offensive line, but when the gates were open, he didn't take off and start running. And he started holding the ball way too long. Taking unnecessary sacks, and then trying to throw the deep pass. He started reverting back to the inaccuracies. Where he was throwing the football all over the place, and it just didn't look good. And overall, I mean, it's just so much that we're going to break down that it was. Let's just say I'm glad I didn't make the trip, because I wouldn't be too kind in the press room right now.
JC, go ahead. What you think?
I really put the blame on you, Aaron, because you talked
smart
about
man,
how,
JC, smart man.
Yeah. He was saying how they, when listening to him yesterday, we were like, why are the Chiefs even going to show up? He was saying how bad the Cowboys were, and this stat, they're last in this, last in that, last. I don't know, man, but I blame it on you because, man, it looks like the Chiefs today. Really, in all honesty, the beginning of the game, I thought it was going to go the way that you thought and the way that we thought, because, man, we come out, get an interception, we zone blitz them and get a pick, the second, third play, and then we score off of that in 2 plays, and I said, "Oh man, this is going to be a blowout." And then from there, it just started slowly going downhill. But yeah, it just started, like Darren said, slowly reverting back to all of the problems that this offense had previously.
Well, let me take the blame and put it right back where we started this segment. The 2 quarters without a score, without even getting in Harrison Butker range. It included 4 punts, 4 straight possessions, all those drives reaching at least the 48-yard line. I heard y'all talking about this on the Daily Show, but it's really crazy. Like, you reach the 47, the 48, the 49, and the 44. And for Kansas City, who had so much success on 4th down in this game, there are 2 touchdowns coming on 4th downs. Why not continue that aggression? You're playing playoff games. We're talking about every snap matters, every drive matters, every game means something in the playoff standings. Why can't you continue some of that aggressiveness for Kansas City in that specific period? They really needed 3. They really needed something to keep the offense on. You don't need touchdowns every time. And I will lean to your point, Darren Smith. It's a double-edged sword. When you say Mahomes starts Mahoming, there's a play later in the game where he makes it and extends the play and finds the guy deep 30 yards down the field, and you love it. But at the other side, he takes a sack and a couple sacks where he's running around in his own pocket trying to make something happen. It goes back to us and what I've talked about before, just a lack of an identity. We're now at week 13, and when this team gets in a tough spot offensively, there's no spot where they can say, you know what, this is what we're going to lean on to keep the drives moving, keep the chains moving. They just start scrambling.
This is one of the things that I know you all like to harp on me about, but it just bothers me to the core that now this time around it didn't hurt when they won the coin toss and elected to defer because of what happened with the interception. But again, they do it so they can try to score at the end of the half and then come out the second half and score. And again,
it didn't work. It didn't work.
It didn't work. But it's like, when you don't even put your offense in position to extend plays or to at least put 3 points on the board, it makes you start questioning things like, okay, you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and nothing seems to keep and nothing changes about it. I mean, when you look at some of the play calling, look, I had a lot of people texting me asking me why they didn't take the penalty, when the ball was kicked out of bounds or whatever, take it to 40 or whatever. And they just do a lot of questionable stuff that, for the life of me, this is one reason why I'm glad I didn't grow up a Chiefs fan, because it would drive me crazy. But I just don't understand a lot of stuff that they do right now. No offense, JC.
Chris, you go, then we'll get to JC.
So when you're looking at this, they come out of the locker room and get a big return, get a 4th down play, run just a flat route to Jared Wiley, a guy that hasn't caught a pass all year. First game that he's playing, goes out, gets 4 yards.
It was the worst drive of the game to me.
No, it was. And then the next couple of snaps, they can't do anything, and they're back to 4th and 4, and they punt. And they're on the Dallas 45 at that point. You cannot continually go for it on 4th downs, on 4th and 1s, and not give your quarterback a chance from the 45-yard line. That is a situation where if you're going to go for it on 4th and 1, you should have been willing to go for it on 4th and 4, because you weren't really stopping Dallas's offense for the most part, most of the game, regardless. So, the extra yardage probably isn't going to matter. Andy Reid got a little bit conservative, didn't work out. But you look at other times in this game, and we'll talk about this probably later, but you have a couple of big drops too. Travis Kelce had a drop, but it ended up not mattering because there was a penalty. Rasheed Rice had a drop. In a situation where if he catches that ball, they're in field goal range. That could have been a situation where it gives you a chance to at least make Dallas have to go down and score. Yeah, they would have been in field goal range to tie the game there, but you could have scored a touchdown. Then Dallas has to go score a touchdown. I mean, that changes the complete game at that point. And Mahomes put the ball where it needed to be. Rice just dropped it. I mean, you put the ball in your playmakers' hands and they have to make plays, and it didn't happen. But let's not forget, there's also a situation early in the game where Patrick Mahomes gets a free play, throws the ball 36 yards down the field, and Xavier Worthy doesn't even really try to catch the ball. You have to play through the whistle every single time, and that has cost this team multiple times this year.
JC, what do you make of the wide receiver play? You've been critical of them recently.
Yeah, and the play that Chris just talked about, I mean, that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And at some point, all these things have to get addressed, and you can't just continue to just talk about it and talk about it. These guys know better. They are better. They should do better. And, the biggest motivator is, sit your butt down, to be honest with you. And, plays like that, effort is something that should never be a question. Effort should never be a question. And you get paid to catch the ball. You get paid. That's your job. Yeah, you're going to have a drop occasionally. They've had too many of them. They've had too many lack of effort plays. And, it's cost them all season. And, it's going to have to be addressed, I think, this offseason somehow, some way.
JC, to your point, JC, when you talk about drops, CeeDee Lamb, the last 2 games had seven drops. But you know what? But he knew, and what did he do? But the coach still believed in him, and he came through today big time. With his catches, with his production, 7 catches, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. But I mean, there's no, to your point, there's no penalty, so to speak. Or no accountability. That's the word I like to use. There's no accountability for these players dropping passes, especially in crucial time. I mean, they've had, and the thing is, Andy, of course, when he goes to the presser, it's on me. I didn't have him prepared, bro. This is 6 losses. This is the most losses I believe Patrick has had in his career since I've been covering him. And so it's like you can't keep telling us it's your fault and you're not getting prepared, because then we have to start questioning you. Like, what are you doing? Why are they not prepared?
Penalties, drops, mental lack of focus, effort, all those things. Those things are unacceptable. They really are. And they've hurt this team too many times this season, and we're seeing the result of it, obviously.
I sent a post out on social media when it happened, but it's this first drive of kind of the scoring drought that Kansas City went through in the second and third. They're up 14-10. They have the ball. They're trying to drive. And the play calling there was 7 passes to 1 rush. At that point in time, Kansas City was averaging 7 yards per carry. They had the long end around from Xavier Worthy. We saw they were getting some creativity in the run game. Kareem Hunt looks like he had some fresh legs relatively, considering what he did just 5 days ago. I could not understand for the life of me why they sped the game up, slowed the clock down, gave Dak and the Dallas offense a chance to get back into it. For Kansas City, that was the perfect chance to not only control the game script, but also to keep everybody on schedule and stay ahead of the chains. From there, you picked up a penalty, you were behind the chains. The rest is history.
I can tell you why, because I just said this yesterday when we had the show. It doesn't matter, how good the run game is. They will always revert back to making about Patrick and Patrick and the stats and the pass game. Because to your point, they only rushed the ball 23 times. Yeah, they had 119 yards, but a lot of it, were like a couple of big plays. Patrick with a 16-yard run, Kareem with a 14-yard run, and then Worthy with a 17-yard run. But of course, one of his other runs, he lost yards on it. And so it's like you said, instead of them trying to have a balanced attack, you're throwing the football, and every time you throw the football, especially those long passes that are incomplete, you're stopping the clock. And instead of running the football, and especially when you're kind of going back and forth, and you see that your defense cannot stop them, you should be running the football, trying to keep dacking them on the sideline.
Chris, hop in here, then we'll go to JC.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you talk about that specific drive. It's 3rd down. Kareem Hunt gets a first down with a 4-yard run. You come back the next play, throw the ball deep, which I don't mind the throw to Thornton, but you get an offensive holding at that point, and it becomes 1st and 20, and you're behind the sticks, and you can't run the ball at that point. Like, maybe you could have, if you ran the ball on 1st down, you could run it, and then see what you can do in the passing game. But when you get 1st and 20, you're not going to be able to run the ball, and that is what has taken Kansas City out of some of these, gotten them into some of these bad situations. Is they get those penalties on 1st down, they get behind the sticks, and then you feel like you have to pass. Mahomes gets sacked. It becomes what, a 2nd and 26, 3rd and 26 at the end. You're not converting that at that point. I mean, yeah, they have in the past at times, but that's not going to be something that you can regularly do, especially against an improved Dallas defense. This wasn't a good Dallas defense, but it was an improved Dallas defense from what we saw early in the season.
Yeah, and everything you guys said is right on point. And, we've been saying the same things over and over, all season. And, at some point, they have to either make an adjustment schematically, personnel wise, or something, because obviously it's not working, right? And now they're hanging on by a string, by a thread, but it's been the same issues all season long, and something's going to have to change, whether personnel, OC, something's going to have to change this season or this off season.
It's time for our first break here on the Chief Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. When we come back, some injury updates. The offensive line sputters in this loss against the Dallas Cowboys. We talk about that on the other side of this break. Is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game, want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back in on the Chief Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network, Aaron Ladd, Darren Smith, Chris Clark, and J.C. Pearson recapping this 31-28 loss for the Chiefs on Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys. Some injury updates along the offensive line. Right tackle Juwan Taylor left late in the first half with an elbow injury, and left tackle Josh Simmons joined him in the locker room with a wrist injury. Neither returned. The Chiefs were already without Trey Smith, leaving them with only Creed Humphrey, Kingsley Suamataia as available starting protection, and Creed Humphrey in front of Mahomes. I saw some reports from my guy Pete Sweeney of the Kansas City Star, said that there was a cast and a sling on that wrist for Josh Simmons. That usually is not a good indicator. This is already a unit that's sputtering to find their footing and is playing playoff games the rest of the way, trying to scratch and claw into the playoffs. This certainly makes things
Houston
harder.
Coming in next week.
Darren, what you think?
Oh, they're in trouble. They got Houston coming in next week. So we ain't gonna talk about that just yet, but that's what I got to say about that. It's not. Chiefs aren't doing themselves any favor, and obviously the injuries are starting to pile up. They were going through most of the season, I guess, injury free. For the most part, but now you got some players like Pacheco coming back, but you got Trey Smith that's out. You got Josh Simmons that's going to be out for an extended period of time. You got Noah Gray that's out with the concussion and stuff. And then the play calling again leaves you scratching your head, so you don't even know what they can do next week against the Houston Texans coming in, because you don't know what the protection is going to look like for Patrick, and Patrick is not trusting his protection with the offensive line, because when he gets the ball, he's going through his progression so damn quick that he's either running for his life, running backwards like he's Shedeur Sanders or something, or and when he just heaving the football down the field, he's inaccurate. So it's not looking good in my opinion.
I will say, I think that when you look at how this is going to play out, Josh Simmons being out probably next week, who knows on Juwan Taylor. If you're going into this with Wanya Morris as your starting left tackle and Jalen Moore as your starting right tackle, or even if you flip them, and maybe Jalen Moore is your starting left tackle and Wanya Morris is your starting right tackle, you're still probably without, I would imagine, Trey Smith. It sounded like his injury was going to be a couple weeks. That's a tough lineup to go in, and you're going up against the best defense in the NFL in the Houston Texans and a great defensive line. This is not going to be a good situation for Kansas City, and it's a game that at this point, if they lose, they have no chance at the playoffs because they're not going to get in with 7 losses. So you're in a situation where you have to win out every single game, and going in with Mike Caliendo and Wanya Morris and Jalen Moore as part of your starting group as your offensive line is not what you want to do.
And that still ain't no guarantee they'll get it if they went out.
That's true, because they've lost against everybody that's ahead of them. Sorry.
Yeah. You think Pat was running around and going through his progressions quickly today in the second half. Watch next week when he's got Wanye out there and possibly.
If I'm Pat, I'm taking PTO, JC.
Right.
PTO next
the guy they just signed, Issa Pole, whatever. I mean, the guy that was here in the preseason. Yeah, if it's Pat, I'm letting the backup go. Because hey, like you said, it's not the best of times to be down your 2 starting tackles and the Houston Texans coming in town.
I will say this though. Y'all got on me when I said like 4 or 5 weeks ago that the playoffs started for the Chiefs back then, but they just kept losing and kept losing. I'm like, yeah, I do realize they can't keep losing to these teams that are ahead of them, but what? They keep losing, and now you lose. I mean, it wasn't a division game, but you're not doing yourself no favor in the win-loss column. So, I mean,
the Chiefs are between a rock and a hard place. These injuries probably would have been a little bit more palatable had you won this game. Then you get the 10 days off in the mini bye to prepare for Houston. But when you lose and you have the injuries, it's kind of the double whammy of, well, not only do we need to continue to press to even get in, but we're shorthanded trying to do so. I mean, should I be the first to say it? Season's cooked.
Go ahead.
Season's cooked. Not a playoff team. And I asked JC last time out if they were a championship team. He said, yeah, I don't know, man. It's getting dark out early.
You are what your record says you are.
Yeah. Oh, so that's what we're doing now, Aaron. Okay.
No, I got one for Darren later in the show, too. Don't worry. I got one for Darren later in the show.
I mean,
we all get on me because both of my teams have lost so far today. So.
We all felt good about today because Aaron said that,
Yeah, I mean,
the Cowboys the Cowboys were, a JV team.
Yeah, so, why even play the game?
I said they struggled in the red zone and on third down, and Kansas City went in on third down today and was 5 of 13. Completed their red zone opportunities on fourth down, but it wasn't enough.
You also said the Chiefs didn't need to show up too, so.
I never said that.
The one thing I will say
here.
I heard the same thing, D.
Okay.
But hey, it is what it is.
You can get Ryan on here. Ryan heard the same thing.
Yeah, it is what it is. And man, but man, I know we're going to get to it, man, but I was just really surprised and disappointed that they were able to throw the ball the way that they did today. I knew it was going to be a test.
It was McDuffie's worst game as a Chief.
Oh, no question. I mean, they picked on him today. They picked on both of those guys.
But JC Spags has always had his corners out on the island since he's been here. I mean, that's what they and look. To your point, I talk to Trent every week, and he's up for these challenges. I mean, this is just one of those weeks where the wide receiver just got the better of him. I mean, it happens.
Yeah. It comes with the territory. It comes with the position, and we knew that today was going to be on them, and it just didn't go their way today. But it happens to, when you play that position, what they used to say is, if you haven't been beaten, you haven't been playing. Because if you've played long enough, you're going to get beaten at some point in time. You have to have a short.
Sanders gotten beat.
Everybody, if you haven't been beaten, you haven't been playing. And just unfortunate that it was today, and both of those guys at the same time, and we weren't able to get to Dak. The thing about being a blitzing man team, I don't care who you are. If you give the quarterback time to throw the ball, you're losing. You're going to get beat. And even we were bringing the one time the corner blitz, and we don't even and Dak sits back and he throws the go route, and that should never happen. You shouldn't have that kind of time. And man, it just if you're going to blitz, you got to get to the quarterback. But like I said, like they said, they call Spags out. The Cowboys said that they were going to be ready for Spags and his defense, and they absolutely were.
Chris, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you talk about the blitz, and Dak played fantastic against the blitz. Obviously, the interception early on almost changed the game. I thought it was going to go a different direction with that interception. But then he came back out and he would be throwing the ball where the blitzer was coming from. They saw what was coming and they had hot routes ready for it, ready to go. And that was a horrible situation. You talk about Trent McDuffie. Yeah, he struggled. He had a horrible day. He almost gave them a chance, or he gave them a chance late in the game to get a turnover, and there wasn't enough people around the ball. Cowboys made the play, the ball bounced their direction. Cowboys got the fumble recovery, and that took, that gave the Cowboys 3 points. It ended up being the change in the game, or the difference in the game. But this entire game, the corner struggled, and the inability to do anything other than have Chamari Connor in the slot or using him in that capacity just doesn't make sense to me why you continue to go down that route. I know Christian Roland Wallace was out, and I know that that's probably who they wanted to have in the slot. But in that scenario, put Noah Williams out on the edge against Pickens or against CeeDee Lamb, put McDuffie in the slot. McDuffie wasn't getting anything done against those guys anyway. Give the rookie a chance to go out there and play in the type of style that he wants to play, physical and up against those bigger guys, and let McDuffie go in the slot and see if he can at least shut that down, because they couldn't shut anything down. Every single level of the secondary gave up something today. They also missed Brian Cook at times as well. Sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
You mentioned Dak Prescott against the blitz, completed 10 of 12 passes under pressure against 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Did not take a sack. He's the first quarterback this season with 100-plus passing yards, 2 scores, and no sacks under pressure. So they sent the pressure. It just wasn't effective.
Yep. Can't get there. And they can't get to the quarterback without a blitz. That's the other problem.
But you don't get to the quarterback without a blitz, and you don't get to the quarterback with the blitz.
Yep.
So now what? What do you do now? And in fairness, they had some tough calls too, some tough pass interference calls, but that wasn't the difference. They just got beaten today, and when, like I said, if you're gonna blitz the quarterback and leave those guys in man coverage, you got to get there. You can't not be a blitzing team like the Chiefs are and come away with 0 sacks.
2 games in a row, probably 3. I know they didn't get any sacks or force any turnovers last week against Indianapolis, and this week. Go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna say, and you're going up against the backup left tackle. Like, you're not even going up against the starting left tackle for the Cowboys, and you cannot get a single sack. It's a problem.
I want to get y'all take on this. I know we don't have a lot of time before break, but I've seen this conversation a lot online. Kansas City has a faulty roster and has had a faulty roster for a long time, but Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and some of the magic they were able to make on offense kind of covered up for a lot of the holes. They had that 17-game, 1-score winning streak that obviously has flipped the complete opposite way this year. And now, essentially, with your backs against the wall, the best thing for them to do, and just a thought, is to miss the playoffs and go into a full rebuild this offseason to try and retool and go after it next year in 2026.
Well, they're gonna have to do it anyway, because at this rate, Kelsey's not returning, so you already know. You can already figure out. You can already see where this is going. But also, I mean, it just comes a time where a lot of times this, what we've seen thus far this season has been self-inflicted, because at the end of the day, it's been the penalties, these drop passes, and Patrick's, either his inability to be accurate throwing the ball down the field or holding the ball too long. So, if those 4 kind of doesn't happen at such a high rate that it's been this far, the record is going to be much different than 6-6, and we're not even having this conversation.
It's hard for me. You look at this; they've been in the Super Bowl 5 out of the last 6 years. Go back and look at the Patriots dynasty at times when they had their 3 Super Bowl run. They had some time where in the middle of their dynasty run where they had 3 Super Bowl wins, and then they came back and had 3 more. They had some down seasons. Playing in the Super Bowl 5 out of the last 6 seasons, you've had most of your team that's been here playing into February for 5 out of the last 6 seasons. That's a lot of football. I do think that has caused some of this. But the other reality is I think you've also had part of your team fall behind when it comes to the coaching staff. I think that there are some coaching staff changes that need to happen. Andy Reid, I'm not really saying that this is a play calling thing, although I do think
name names, Chris. We need you to name names on this program. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't tiptoe around it, man. It's Thanksgiving. We on
I
your
think
pod.
offensive line needs to be real. I think the offensive line coach needs to go. Andy Heck, I think, is in over his head. And you look like going into this season, you had an offensive line that looked like it should be pretty good, and it has been at times, but it hasn't been consistent. And they can't consistently run the ball. Their scheme is known by everybody in the NFL. And you have a left tackle, and obviously he's hurt right now, so that'll be something that they'll have to deal with. But you have a left tackle that looks like he could be a very promising left tackle, and somebody that could play in Kansas City and protect Patrick Mahomes' backside for quite a long time. I think you need to look at a new offensive line coach. Maybe have a running back coach that's been a running back. Same type of thing with the wide receivers. I mean, there's lots of different positions here that you could take into consideration for changing some of the coaching staff.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. There's a lot of meat on this bone. We're not done with this conversation yet. I want to talk about that and third downs when we come back. You're listening to the Chief Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. Appreciate you making us part of your Thanksgiving here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Chief Squad Show after a 31-28 loss. Kansas City now falls to 6-6 on the year. We're having a lot of discussions here. We just fired the offensive line coach. We're looking for a new running backs coach. We're talking about a lot here in Kansas City because it's a strong possibility that they missed the playoffs for the first time in a very long time. Darren Smith has got his hand raised for y'all watching here on the YouTube channel. Darren, hop on in. What you think?
Look, people going to try to fry me. I don't care. They never should have let Eric Bieniemy go. And
I knew it was coming.
Be quite honest,
I knew it was coming.
To be quite honest, he needs to come back. Look. You say what you want.
They could have brought him back though, Darren. He was available. He was available.
Brother. That's okay. You echoing my point. But what I'm saying is, it's time for. I like Matt Nagy as a person, but it's time for him to go. And you need to make it right with Eric Bieniemy. Because see, for all the things that people are saying about EB and Andy Reid calling plays, whatever, you know what? He's in Chicago. He's a running backs coach, and you know what? They are second in the league in rushing. And what's their record? 8-3. A lot of stuff is a mentality type thing that we are missing. We are missing that toughness. Now, I get it that, we won, we've been the last 3 Super Bowls, and they won one and lost one without, since Eric Bieniemy has been gone. But that last year that they won when he was the OC, Patrick won MVP. Patrick can't even sniff an MVP conversation because look at how this offense has looked over the last 3 seasons. I mean, and again, you can give Andy Reid credit and try to discredit Eric Bieniemy, for whatever people want to do. But the facts are the facts. Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, when he was with Minnesota, coached up an MVP in Adrian Peterson. So as the running backs coach, now he got there to Chicago. Took over his running backs coach and is helping along with the offense. And Caleb Williams is 8-3. They have the second best rushing attack behind Buffalo in the NFL. Do you not think that somebody like that would be good with this team right now? Holding these players accountable, because you and I know, and I know J.C. knows that if EB was here the last 2 years, all these drop passes, all these penalties, that stuff would not be taking place because he wasn't allowing that stuff in practice, and they damn sure wasn't doing it this often in the games.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely, but they're not going to bring him back because of all the things that you just said, and then if they brought him back, then they would face all the questions about why'd you let him go to begin with, and but this is it's a cruel game and it's a cruel business. Then you never, from year to year, you either get better or you get worse. You never stay the same, and like Chris was saying earlier, some of these guys are getting older, getting a little long in the tooth. These other guys, some of these guys know nothing more than going to a Super Bowl. So that's their expectation because they've gone to a Super Bowl every year. So they think it's
They
easy.
haven't dealt with any adversity.
No, they think it's easy, and it is not easy. And they're finding that out now. So, some of these guys are having some reality checks that, that this is tough. And some of these guys are getting older and phasing out. And some of the guys that have gotten them to that promised land. And, so yeah, they're going to have to take a look at this roster, this coaching staff and everything and reevaluate some things. But before that, they've got some games left to play this year, and they need to try to figure out a way to, try to finish the best that they can because, mathematically they're not out yet. I have a feeling that they will be soon, but, they have to finish out this season the best that they can. So they still have to try to figure some things out and make some adjustments. And, that's just where they are. And the injury bug is not helping at all either.
And I'll say this. Brett Veach has to quit being cheap when it comes to wide receivers, especially when the offseason comes, because what they do and talked about it for years, they get their receivers, they get a lot of the skill players in the draft because they don't have to pay them as much, and they do take care of some of the draft picks. But when you have wide receivers that are out there, I'm sorry. A lot of people were talking about Hollywood Brown and Worthy and Rice being the three-headed monster. But we saw what it looked like against Dallas. We see, Dallas and their two wide receivers, their two wide receivers are better than our three wide receivers. I mean, you look at who else got two-headed monster? Cincinnati. Which wide receiving set would you take over Kansas City? I would say Cincinnati. I would say Dallas, and hell, I'd even say Green Bay, Seattle, and the Rams. So. Ooh. That's
Philly,
that's
Philly,
and Philly. Yeah,
Brown and Devontae Smith. Yeah,
there you go. So so to me, Patrick needs a true 1A wide receiver. I know a lot of people want to claim that Rashee Rice is top 5 or whatever. He's not. Chiefs need a number 1 wide receiver, and saying to put with Patrick and these other wide receivers to learn from them. So
the title of this segment was Third Down Demise, and I do want to get to that. I know we're having some good conversation, but specific to this Cowboys game and recapping it, Kansas City goes 5 for 13 on third down this Thursday. Cowboys go 9 of 16, but here's even more numbers and really where I think the difference happened in this one. The Chiefs forced Dallas into 3rd and long. That's at least 3rd and 7 or more, 6 separate times. Dak Prescott on those snaps, 6 for 6, 95 yards and 1 touchdown. Just not good enough in those critical moments. And we've gotten on here post-game show after post-game show and said, hey, they're so close. They're right there. These games that they continue to come down to just inches and it's an oblong ball and it bounces different ways. That stat very emblematic of that. Kansas City can't get a stop on 3rd and long. Those are the downs that you really play for and give your offense a chance to get some momentum going. Just not good enough in this one, whether it's roster, whether it's coaching, whatever you want to blame it on. That's what happened today, this Thursday.
But why can't you get off the field in those situations? It's because
penalties was part of it. Penalties was some of it.
Well, penalties was some of it, but it's because you can't rush the passer. In those scenarios, you're at 3rd and long. You should be able to pin your ears back and be able to get pressure of some point. Kansas City couldn't do that. That killed them in this game. You get in a 3rd and long situation, it should be George Karlaftis, it should be Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu getting after the quarterback. That didn't happen in this game. Yeah, there were some good pass rushes. Yeah, they got a little bit of pressure. But when you can't hit Dak Prescott, when you can't bring him down, and when you can't get sacks, you're not going to win a game in that scenario. And when you're talking about somebody going 6 for 6 for 95 yards when they're in 3rd and long situations against you, that's a defensive problem, and it's because you don't get pressure on the quarterback.
George Karlaftis is still on the roster?
I was about to say, Aaron, didn't you call him out? Because he only had 1 tackle in the game tonight. He only had one tackle in the game tonight.
For our everydayers that have listened to every episode, we came on here maybe 3 weeks ago and said blank needs to step up in the second half if Kansas City wants to make a push. And my name was one of them was George Karlaftis. He had a lot of pressures. He was impactful in the first half. He was close to getting more sacks. Now he's not even really getting the same pressures anymore. There's got to be somebody opposite Chris. I know Chris is the money man and we want to push him and he's the guy and you had him in a headlock in the locker room. I get that. I understand that. Who's going to be that other guy? Who's going to be the second guy that generates pressure? If you can't get home with 4 and your secondary is in hell, then the whole team is screwed up. Dallas had 457 total yards today. That's not just on the pass rush.
Hey.
Well, the craziest part about that to me is you could talk about it being a short week and it being, one of those things where that could play into how this worked. But the Kansas City defense had only 50 snaps? I think it's 50 some snaps their last game. I mean, you're in a scenario where the defense should have been mostly rested going into this game because they didn't play near the snaps that the offense did. The offense ran 96 plays the last game that they had. So where's the pass rush? Where's the somebody getting home? And Spags couldn't get anything done against the blitz. Couldn't get the blitz to get home, and that was the big problem. But again, you get into a scenario where the corners aren't able to do anything because they have to cover for too long, and you have guys that are playing out of position. I do think that the Chiefs really missed Brian Cook in this game, especially after he went out in the first half.
He's missed a lot of players, that aren't even here anymore. Justin Reed especially, but that's my opinion because he brought a physicality mentality on that defense where he set the tone, and I mean nobody does that right now. Go ahead, J.C. I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to figure out where Jaden Hicks has been all season. Like, hasn't really played.
Well,
and now
obviously
he didn't look great, but he did something. He did some stuff.
Go ahead, JC.
But I would say that this defense is gotten predictable. We all know that Spags likes to blitz. We know that. And if we know that, then obviously the teams that they're about to play know that, and they're scouting them and watching video. So they know when and where it's coming. And, the last couple of weeks, they've been able to pick them up. And once you do that, now those guys in the back end are left, on an island. So, last week or this week, rather, was the first time you've heard teams openly call Spags out and say that, hey, we're ready. We got something for Spags and, his blitzes and his defense. And they definitely did. But, you got to be able to change up also defensively. And, Spags, he's a lot like Gunther Cunningham back in the day that, when things get tight, what he's going to do. He's blitzing. So now they're going to max protect or they're going to run blitz routes and, they know where it's coming from and they're going to replace and they're going to throw it there. And that's exactly what they did today. And the last couple of weeks now, Spags has to go back to the drawing board and change his stripes and, not leave his guys out there on islands like that.
The numbers look good for Patrick Mahomes in this one, 23, 34, 261, and 4 passing touchdowns, 129 rating in this one. But it just is, there was some empty calories in there. And the third downs when Kansas City needed it the most, he's back there scrambling for his life. It just seemed like they weren't on schedule. And I will continue to say the identity word. If you want to stamp that on your bingo card, go ahead. There is no offensive identity. And now you're scrambling in a situation where you need to win every game the rest of the way to even get in. That's not a situation in where you find your identity. That's where you meld down what it is to the core semblance of this is what we do to move the ball. I don't know what that is for Kansas City. And now we're in week 14. They got O-line problems. It's getting dark early. It's draft board season in Kansas City. I can't believe we're saying it already. It's Thanksgiving. Break out the mock drafts, Chris Clark. We need to get them. We need to get them going. Who's coming to Kansas City? Who's getting the jersey?
Well, that's going to be an interesting conversation once we actually get there. And one more loss, and you're absolutely there. I don't even know how far down that their draft pick could be in this scenario when you start talking about them losing. Because if they lose one more game, they're out of the playoffs. At that point, do you start making changes and decide, okay, we're out of the playoffs? Do we maybe try to play some younger guys, maybe try to get healthy with some of the guys that are dealing with nagging injuries, and take a couple more losses, because you're probably not going to be making them a late playoff push. It's going to be interesting. They've never been in this scenario under Patrick Mahomes. He's usually been very good in November and December, and this could just be a completely different situation for this team.
Let's take a quick break before we get the other guys' opinions. We're talking Chiefs, Cowboys, 31-28, the final. Our last break here on the Chiefs Squad Show. Thanks for joining us on Thanksgiving. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Final segment here on Thanksgiving. Appreciate you making us part of your holiday. Aaron Ladd, Darren Smith, J.C. Pearson on the road making time for us, and Chris Clark. 119 penalty yards for Kansas City. They flashed it up on the broadcast, most since 2019. They said it, not me. Fact check them. But here's what I want to toss to y'all on this, because we're talking about rest of the season. We're talking about off season already, the mock drafts being thrown around. The other M word that I wonder about for Kansas City is mentality. How do they attack these final 5 games? And I mentioned, and I heard kind of talking about this on the Daily Show, and I thought it was a good jumping off point for us as well. This is where that leadership and the character and all that stuff is tested right here. Yes, you have mathematically a chance at the playoffs, but it is slim, especially considering injuries and where you're playing right now. One more loss, and the season is essentially lost. Where does this team go from here mentality-wise, and do we have any questions on whether or not they band together or break apart right now past Thanksgiving? Darren Smith, go ahead and start us off. It looks like you're fired up about this one.
No, because to be quite honest, the mentality is what it is. I mean, you can't just turn it off and on, because mentality wise, they should have been focused on correcting these mistakes a while ago, because now you're 6-6. You can't just all of a sudden now next week is a must-win game, when today was a must-win game. Last week and the last 2 weeks were must-win games, and you kept boo-boo in the bed, more or less. So to be quite honest, to say what the mentality is would just be saying it, because saying it without, you have to put some action behind those words. And we really haven't seen it outside of last week's game, because you should have been able to build off of that. Because think about it. They lost the last 2 weeks, but everybody was still kind of riding high. The Chiefs be able to turn around. They actually beat the Colts, beat them at their own game last week. They had them riding high, and then you come out and wet the bed in today's game. And so, I mean, I can't really say what their mentality is going to be, because, again, we don't know what it is. I mean, I'm sitting there as someone who covers the team. I'm trying to figure out ways that they, that they can turn it around, and I really can't.
When I look at this,
it's going to be interesting to see, because.
Go ahead, JC. Sorry.
Who on this team has been in this situation? As a member of the Chiefs team. It's been a long time since this team has been in this situation right here. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys react, because none of them have been in this situation before. And again, now once they are eliminated, now you're playing for your spot on this team. These guys haven't been in that situation before. So it's going to be interesting to see if they just go out and perform like it's a given that they're going to be here, like it's a given that, they're going to win the games, or are they going to go out and be desperate? If they are, they would have already come out and been desperate, like Darren was saying. So, I don't think much is going to change. I think they're going to come out and play the way that they've played the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, to be honest with you. And that's up and down.
Chris, for jump, I would just say that the worst that they've had adversity-wise was when they were 3-4 after their loss to Tennessee back in 2020. Because I was there. That was an embarrassment of the loss that they had.
That was the Tyrann Mathieu game.
Yeah, and they ended up having a players-only meeting, and then they turned things around, of course, and kind of ran the gauntlet until they lost to the Colts. I mean, to the Bengals at the end of the season, and then the AFC Championship game. So. Outside of that, and again, it was only a few players that were on the team, because most of the linemen weren't even. I can't remember. No, they weren't even on that team, I think, at the time. No, they were on it. They were on it, because that was after the Tampa Bay loss. So when you look at players like like most of the defense outside of Chris Jones, maybe I think Nick Bolton might have been on that team as a rookie. There really aren't a whole lot of these players that was on that 2020 squad that went to that 3-4 and then turned things around. So no.
You start looking and you start talking about what could be ahead if this team falters and loses another game. Let's just play it out. If they lose 2 more games, they're obviously out of the playoffs. Then you're playing for the draft. You're trying to figure out, okay, what can we do for next season? Your number one problem, you're $42 million over the salary cap before you even start looking at what you can do in 2026. Like, I don't want to get too far into it, but I mean, that's the reality. You're the $40 million over the salary cap before you even start talking about, is Travis Kelce going to play another season? What do you do at the wide receiver position? What do you, who
McDuffie
do you sign?
extension potentially.
McDuffie extension, the Rashee Rice extension potentially, Leo Chenal. I mean, all those guys before you even start talking about
Chris Jones.
Well, yeah, I mean, Chris Jones is one of the issues. I mean, Mahomes is on for almost $80 million in 2026.
He'll restructure. I'm sure he'll do some restructuring cap gymnastics that they always do.
Right, but how much is that going to help you if you can't address the issues on your team? And one thing that I will say that I think, while a lot of people were upset, and I wasn't happy that they didn't make a move at the deadline because I think it could have helped them, they've shown that they have the ability to run the ball. So making a move for a guy like Breece Hall, while it probably would have helped this offense, I don't know that it changes the results in any of these past games, if I'm being quite honest, because I don't know that Andy Reid would have used it. So not making a move at that point makes you wonder, is it possible that that was the best decision? Because now you're going to have more draft picks to try to get ready for next season and get ready for 2026 when you have to reload. Look at it this way. You have your starting left tackle, assuming Josh Simmons is going to be able to come back and play. You have Creed Humphrey. You have Trey Smith under contract. You have your right tackle and Jalen Moore. Yeah, you can get a replacement. And it looks like you have Kingsley Suamataia. You already have your offensive line, for the most part, figured out. Maybe you can get better coaching, but you already have that squared away. You have Patrick Mahomes. If you bring back Rashee Rice, you have Xavier Worthy. You still have Jalen Royals, who hasn't played any. I think they get Tyquan Thornton back. I think that this receiving core can be okay. What you do with the tight end position is a big question. But the reality is you have to fix the pass rush. And you're going to have to do that with multiple different draft picks or signings at defensive tackle and defensive ends. You need more help for the pass rush. And until you do that, this defense is going to continue to struggle in the biggest moments.
Yeah, but now, but now you got that contract with Karlaftis that you signed him to in the offseason. I mean, he has not been, he has not been worth the, I like George, but he has not been worth the money that they paid him. And so that's going to strap you as well. And again, because of what you're paying Chris Jones, I mean, you have to literally, like you say, hit on the draft picks, because you're going to be strapped trying to bring free agents in. Yeah, Patrick can restructure all you want, and all you're doing is continue to move his money, 6 years further down, down the pike, and he'll continue to be on your salary cap even after he's long retired or whatever. But I mean, there's Chiefs are in cap hill right now.
I will say this. I don't disagree with you that the Karlaftis deal doesn't look great with the pressure that he's been giving or the lack of sacks, but he's only $15 million in the cap in 2026. That you can deal with. That's a number that you can deal with as a pass, as an edge rusher. It's not great, but it's not like he's getting paid $25-35 million a year in not producing. So you can live with 15. I'll be really curious to see what they're able to do and how they're able to restructure some things. Obviously, Mahomes' deal is going to get redone. We'll see how that works out and what they do with Chris Jones. But there's a lot of questions on this Chiefs roster to try to figure out going forward.
I'm gonna let J.C. jump in here if he has any thoughts. I don't want to spend any more of my holiday with this game or this team. We got plenty of time to.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. They're going to figure out where they're going to spend their money. And that's why, he tries to depend on draft picks, because they're cheap. And, the big guys are getting all the money. But they got to decide what they're going to do with Trent, because he's going to have to get a big contract. Where's that money going to come from? And then how are they going to continue to get other impact players in this on this roster if the money's not there. So it's going to be interesting to see. You know, obviously they're hoping that the cap goes up like it does every year, but you know, you're going to have to get some impact guys, some veterans, and not rely on the cheap rookies or the guys that have gotten released from somewhere else. And you know, you take a flyer on them because they need more than depth. They need impact, quality talent now.
Before we go, Darren Smith, you handed out your betting slip yesterday. Do you want to get an update on how that's going so far?
Oh man, it's 0 for 2 right now. I mean, well, look, hey, nobody could account for Amon-Ra St. Brown going out in the first quarter today. Okay, so I mean,
JC, you see how he does when he's right. We take a whole 5 minutes of the show to give Darren his flowers. When he's wrong, he just wants to breathe. He just want to pass that right on by.
Hold on. Wait a second. Now, you just asked me, and I said it answered your question. You asked me, how's it going? I said it went 0-2. What you want me to say? What you want me to stretch that out some more? I mean, I just got you saying that no one, trust me, a lot of slips were burnt today when Amon-Ra St. Brown went down in the first quarter. Now you got a lot of these bet protects, and you know, I still got some slips that are technically alive because you know I'll get bonus bets or whatever, bonus credits or whatever, but. You know, I mean, had he not gone down, I'd be looking pretty good right now.
If you tell Darren Smith with your Thanksgiving dinner, you may be entitled to compensation. Until then, the Chief Squad Show is going on a mini bye. We will be back on our midweek episode on Wednesday of next week, previewing the Houston Texans matchup. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we get out of here? Hope y'all ate good, man. I know we were on here for a little bit, but I hope y'all had a good holiday, man. Same to everybody that's listening in the chat.
Yeah, pretty good. My mom's cooked, so. And look, I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
I saved myself 8 hours on the road, so I do not feel bad about not being in Dallas now.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, I'm on the road. Sorry about the car issue, but you know, you got to fill in. You got to be able to play hurt. Traveling, whatever, you got to show up. That's what these guys need to understand. They got to show up and produce regardless, right? You got to show up and produce, man. No excuses, none.
We appreciate y'all for making us part of your Thanksgiving. We will see y'all next week. Take it easy.